If you're like me and you don't want to pay for things you don't want to, $700 is still $700, am I right? I don't mean the type where, your partner go on shopping and realize that, hey, there's this bag that I really like, can you buy it for me? No, I'm not talking about that, but let me share. Right. Hi, my name is 𝐿𝐮𝐬𝐫𝐸, and I'm a father of 2, and right now I'm babysitting my second little one. She's currently 2 months old, and recently we went to the hospital for a check because we had some scares about and concerns about her current situation. So we bottle fed her, and we started hearing this phlegmy sound as and when she's swallowing the milk, as and when she's breathing, especially during feeding. So we're wondering, what is this sound that we are hearing? And initially we just brushed it off because we just thought that, hey, maybe it could be my eldest son that actually contracted some of this cough and then it got to our daughter. But it wasn't so serious to the extent that she started coughing and she was unable to sleep or fed. So at the point of time, we just thought that this thing will tide through eventually, until we realized that she started having choking situations when she was drinking. That's why we made an appointment with the ear, nose, and throat doctors, right, and 𝐾𝐾H to see what is actually happening. As we were there during the day itself, the queue was long, but the most important thing is that the doctor mentioned that they can't do much stuff unless they found out what is happening inside the pipes. So she suggested that we do a small little procedure, and that actually freaked us out in the beginning because can you imagine a small young girl, 2 months old, everything is delicate, and she has to be scoped. I think no parents want to go there. But because of this situation, we might worry that if things were serious and if the milk as she drinks goes into her lungs, then it might cause bigger issues. And yeah, that's not something that we want to. So naturally, we agree to do the scope. But then comes the next problem. How much is it and who is going to pay for it? The doctor actually told us that this procedure costs around like $700, and she asked us whether we have insurance. So the good thing is that we actually bought insurance, a hospitalization plan for our daughter earlier on after she was born, and you cleared all the jaundice checks and passed the window period from, I think, that can range from company to company. More importantly, they have to pass the jaundice check. So after buying that, very fortunate that we didn't have to use this hospitalization plan until this moment of time, when the doctor told us that this procedure that's going to be scoping this small little tube, black tube that has a camera on it at the start, and what they have to do was that they have to go through the nose of a young little 2 months old daughter. And the hole is, I can't describe, but it's like the size of a small little ball bearing. Her nose trails, right? Scope it all the way in until it reaches somewhere here where your vocal cord is, as well as the flap that controls air and food to not go into the wrong pipes. So that was the concern because she had that choking situation, and one or twice my wife actually found out that she turned blue, and that was very alarming because turning blue means that she couldn't breathe and she was like suffocating. So yeah, so that was the biggest push for us to actually head down to the specialist. The doctor told us that we have to scope it, and then we were thinking, how are we going to pay for it? But luckily, as I mentioned, we bought a hospitalization plan, and since it's a day surgery, it can be covered. Phew. Then comes the next problem, because at the point of time, yes, we could have just fall back to this one, but in the midst of these checks, a day or two before, we actually applied to transfer from company A's hospital plan to company's B hospital plan. The main reason was because I recently entered this industry, and of course, there's some rebates, why not? So that was the main reason why we did that switch. So because of that, our paperwork was still in the midst of a process, and then we had to see this doctor, and she told us we have to do this procedure. And the logical way, right, is to get this thing as soon as possible. But $700, to me, it's not a big amount to the point that I will feel a very big pain in my savings. But $700 is still $700, am I right? I was quite conflicted because, do I want to pay this $700? Or do I want to just do a scope and have a possibility of paying this by cash? Or there's also a possibility that it's being covered by the insurance company. So this was on my head. And I do got to say, when this happened, I was a bit guilty after we postponed it, because my number one concern wasn't actually on my daughter. And I think this is real, right? So as much as possible, we love our kids, we love ourselves, we love our family. There's always this part that might be on the back of our head, which is, how am I going to pay for it? Who is going to pay for it? And will it affect me in the long run? Yeah, so that was the reason why I want to share this experience, because I know it sucks to have this experience, that people might say that, hey, I don't love my kid, but hey, I'm just being practical. And yeah, Unfortunate thing is that we got a coverage. Because of that, we had to fall back to the first one, and that was the fortunate thing because we didn't have any issue when we bought the first one when she was cleared before the initial checks. So all I want to say is that if you understand what happened to me and you don't want this to happen to you when you can't pay for this or you don't want to pay for these medical bills, then do get yourself covered for the reimbursement part, as well as those plans that give you some lump sum of cash if certain things were to happen, so that you can use that to pay for your expenses as you recover. If you have an advisor, look for an advisor, ask them whether you have enough coverage. And if you have any other money concerns or things you would like me to address, especially the previous one where we look into Reddit's concern about how this individual can actually retire in 15 years, right? So if you have not watched that, do check that out. And of course, I'll be doing more of this video. So if you would like to find out what is going to happen next, and by the way, I'll be talking a little bit about what is the best way that you can finance your HDB, right? So if you're interested in that, do remember to like, follow, and subscribe for more, and share it with more people, especially if they are interested about money, they're more concerned about money, and if you feel that they're very stressed about money, definitely send this to them. So with that, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.